lovely people.
Welcome to the Unraveling the World podcast.
Before we get into our episode, let's hear from our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain it to you really quickly. To start off, it's 100% free, and there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it could be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more platforms. In fact, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Okay, so for this week's episode, we will be talking about cancel culture.
Yeah, whether we realize it or not, it's actually a huge part of our society and has brought down so many influencers due to it, and it has impacted us in the past, and it's currently impacting us right now, and it will continue to play a role in the future as well.
Yeah, so I think that it's gonna continue to play a role in the future until we decide, like us as, teenagers or whoever's listening even, until we decide that we shouldn't go by this anymore, But for those of you who don't know what cancel culture is, it's basically to dismiss something or somebody and to reject an individual or idea. And when people use the term unironically, it reveals a big problem with our culture. So cancel culture as it currently exists doesn't give people a chance to learn from or apologize for their wrongdoings.
So to kind of start the discussion, I kind of wanted to ask you if you think that your opinions on if you guys think if cancel culture is valid, if it's reasonable, if it should continue to happen, basically.
So basically, while researching, I read that there was something else called call-out culture, which is significantly different than cancel culture. Cancel culture is when literally influencers get death threats telling them to kill themselves and disgusting things like that filled in their comment section, and obviously I don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form, because that's inhumane. But I do agree with call-out culture, which when an influencer does, or a celebrity or whoever it may be, does something that affects you in a negative way or affects a community in a negative way, and they're called out for it. But I completely disagree with with cancel culture, and I think that it should be abolished.
I 100% agree with that, because what people don't realize is that with cancel culture, you're basically putting down that person. And I understand how people might think that, oh yeah, it's their fault for whatever they did, but you don't know for a fact, in some situations, you don't know for a fact if they did do it or not, and you're basically accusing them for something you don't know is 100% true. And say they did admit to something, and you're continuing to put them down and leaving death threat comments or slipping in their DMs and saying rude comments. You don't know how someone's going to handle a situation. Some people take that kind of stuff very extremely. I know some people can easily deflect that and get over it, but some people take these types of comments in a very different way, which can lead to very, very bad outcomes. So that's that. And I also know for a fact that I remember that not a couple of years ago, I think last year or something, I know Nessa on TikTok, she received a lot of backlash and for the situation that happened, and whatever she did, it was something bad. I 100% agree with whatever she did was completely wrong, but people were just leaving the horrible, horrible comments. I think that expressing your opinion is fine, but doing it in that kind of a way, it just comes to a point where it's just inhumane. And she basically had to deactivate her Instagram, and it's just not good for people's mental health, is what I'm trying to get across.
Yeah, and also I feel Nessa at one point, when people leave that much of that, the so many hateful comments in their comment sections, most influencers, they put out an apology video. And the thing that I have with that part of this whole cancel culture thing is that I feel like a lot of influencers, they kind of put out the apology to stop the hate and not actually apologize for what they did, which is kind of the whole point, like, which is completely not the point. Like, the reason people are sending this hate, which I obviously don't agree with, is because they did that certain thing, and they're kind of mocking them for it, or like making fun of them for it, which is not the right way to let them know that they did something wrong. It's to, in a respectful way, because you still have to remember that they literally they may struggle with mental health issues, whatever it might be. You have to keep that in mind. So keeping that in mind, you have to let your message across in a not a positive, like, a informational way. And sending them death threats is just not the.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also relating to a situation that's currently happening right now, I know that we brought up like a situation about like Nessa in the past, but I also wanted to bring up another kind of a point. I'm pretty sure you
Sienna
guys know.
and Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the thing is, obviously, always believe the victim, but I really feel like this is not our business. It should be private. I feel like we shouldn't be like, I feel like this is not. It's not our business.
I mean, like, okay, see, I get that. I get that it's not our business, but whether it be intentional or unintentionally, even though it's not my business, I should, even though I know that it's not none of my business, I know that, but like unintentionally, I'm still like watching their apology videos. I'm still watching all of that, and in my mind, I'm still creating a victim for myself, even though I know that it's none of my business.
Yeah.
For those people who are like me, which is most of this generation, it's like you have to believe the victim, which is what I'm like directing that towards, because I always feel like you should believe the victim even though it's none of my business. Everyone should know that it's none of their business except for the people involved in that situation itself, but it's for the people who do it unintentionally. I'm like putting out the message that you should believe the victim first, because in the case that they are the victim, which is like majority of the time, you have, first of all, we probably don't know what they're going through in that situation, with, first of all, having such huge platforms on social media, plus getting all the hate, and plus being in the situation by itself. They're going through a lot, and and I said before, like, majority of the time they are the victims, so we should just believe them. And later when the truth comes out, if it does, can be either broken down and further proof to tell us that if they're the victim or not. But like in that case, believe the victim first.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shani, because basically, I agree with you. Like, you're unintentionally watching people's videos, whether it comes up on your following or your For You page, or I don't know, comes up in your recommended on YouTube, wherever you somehow accidentally watch it, say, you're still forming these, thoughts in your head, and like, oh, who's right, who's wrong? You can't, like, it's not something that you can easily avoid. And I think that there's a difference with like forming it in your head rather than like spreading hate on comments. If you think about it in your head, it's just to you. You're not harming anyone. You're just having those thoughts to yourself. You're keeping it to your own, like, it's just to yourself. It's not impacting other people. But it's a different like story when you put it out for the entire world to see.
Yeah. Especially when one voice might not seem like a lot, but then when millions of people come on and tell you to go kill yourself, like, I cannot imagine what that feels like, no matter what situation they're in.
Yeah, and talking about like this entire current Sienna situation, like, as of now, we don't know who's right and stuff. And like, I agree with what Ishani said. She said, like, believe the victim. But we're not trying to take sides here. We're not trying to say who's right and who's wrong. But I'm just saying that you have to form your own opinions and keep it to yourself.
Yeah, because we can't technically like get proof of the whole situation, because like Melvina said, like, it's none of our business, and she's right about that. It is none of our business. But with the information that the population, what we do have, like, so far Sienna's just putting out videos, and whether like just telling us that she didn't do this, but like most of the population won't believe her until there's actually proof that she didn't do this. And I'm not really sure what proof, but when you're in that, like, when you're framed like that, or whatever it might be, she's like, she's in the wrong side right now. She's not in a good place right now. I feel like that's when most of the population won't believe her, and she, in this situation, is getting most of the hate, which I don't think she should be. I don't think she should be getting hate. I feel like she should just not. I feel like no one should just be focused on her, because she's just still getting, like, cloud types, you know. She's just getting more views. She's making money. She's making a lot of money off this when we watch her videos and everything. Which is, we should just kind of just let her go, kind of not cancel her or anything like that. Just let her go, like, get her out of our minds.
I also want to point it out that if you're gonna like backlash at someone's videos, or if you want to like quote unquote cancel them, you just keep in mind that the more you interact with the video, you're just like benefiting. Well, actually, you're not benefiting them. Obviously, you're harming their mental health, and you're just putting those words out there. But in ways, they're still profiting from what you say, because, you know, they, like what Ishani said, they make money from what you say, but that's still no excuse for the actions that you do.
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of people, most of the people getting canceled, right, like, in this day and age, whatever, they're usually white, and that's just a fact, you know. Whether they do something that hurts a different community, or whatever it might be. I feel like, for example, when Lil Huddy or anyone says the N word, it's no one else's business but black people's business to decide whether to forgive him or not. And when other people gang up being like, we forgive you, when they're literally brown or anything else, like white or whatever it might be, and just in general not black, it's just wrong, because it's just none of my business. And it's not even your place to forgive.
Like I said, it kind of depends on each situation. If it's about something like what Ishani said about what happened with like the Lil Hoodie situation about like saying the N-word, like that's completely different from like other like small, like something dumb. Like people get canceled for the dumbest things. Like I don't know, like I can't form an example right now, but I've seen like some of the like kind of people getting canceled for like kind of stuff I'd be like, what, isn't that something a 2-year-old would fight over?
Yeah, I totally agree. What do you think, something that I'm just curious about, what do you think culture is ever gonna like stop?
I don't think cancel culture is ever gonna stop, no. Because you know, it's like kind of like other situations. I don't think any of the things ever gonna stop. I feel like people are just gonna continue to do what they do. And if you are listening to this podcast, you know, you're taking time to educate yourself, but I don't think it's gonna stop, and I don't think it ever will, because it's kind of just people's own decisions. It's not up to what we can say, or we can't control people. We're just doing our best to educate and kind of informing what's happening in our world. We can't really go and say, no, you can't post that, you can't put that up there, you can't tweet this, you can't, you know, put that on your story. It's kind of how people choose to react to a certain situation.
Yeah. Movina, what do you think is going to happen in the future?
Yeah, I think eventually, actually, no, not even eventually. I can't really say, but I'm hoping like it's gonna I mean, maybe eventually, like, people will start educating themselves. I mean, it's unlikely, but it's possible, you know? Like, people will start educating themselves, and maybe slowly it'll decrease.
Yeah, that's the hope. I actually completely feel like, I honestly feel like it won't ever stop, because that's just, I honestly feel like it'll get worse, because looking on TikTok, with whether it be like Sienna's like apology videos, I've seen so many like memes out of it, and people have made like sounds out of the like clips. They cut out clips and made it into like a funny thing when he's talking about something so serious like sexual assault, which is why, and like, because this generation has done it so much, like our upcoming whatever past generation, what they're going to be upcoming soon, and they're learning from what we're doing, you know, and the world is going to be in it's kind of cringy to say, but like it's going to be in their hands someday. And when it does come to that point, and it's just going to multiply at the end, which is why, at least in the near future, I'm talking like 50, 60 years at least, I'm sure TikTok won't be a thing, or whatever platform there is then. I honestly feel like it'll be the same thing. And yeah, which is why in the near future at least, not anytime soon, because it's just so wrong to. It's what is the generation doing? We're so many kids in this generation. They're making so many TikToks, just making fun of the whole situation, not understanding the victim, not understanding Sienna's situation, just making this a whole joke, like it's funny to them.
I just wanted to say, how do you guys think that like cancel culture like kind of works? Like you know, like the story behind it, and like how it kind of forms, and then you know like someone's getting canceled, you know?
For me, I think it's usually something's leaked. Like there's like this really old tweet of a celebrity or whoever saying something racist or homophobic, whatever it might be, or there's a video of them saying the N-word or whatever, I don't know the situation, but whatever it might be. And when it gets leaked, people, instead of actually doing something helpful for once, and in a nice, not a nice, like in an informational way, letting them know what they did was literally not okay, instead of doing that, they just send death threats and make fun of the whole thing, and just make fun of them in general. And it's when it multiplies and it gets to a point where even someone who, like me, who completely disagrees with what they did, and I start to understand that what they're probably going through is terrible, it's when I know that it's bad.
Yeah, I agree with Ishani. I think that, you know, it depends. Like I said, depends on the situation. It's not like one person starts it and like it somehow spreads to like over 10 million people. But obviously, like whatever you can say still has an impact on what other people think. Like say that there's a short segment of a video or something that you can't really tell if like what happened in the situation, and if someone gives their perspective on it, it can rub off on someone else and it can just spread like that. But I basically think how cancel culture works is, I always think that there are two sides to a problem. Either you believe it or you like have your own kind of a theory to this story.
Yeah.
So what I think happens is a group of people, like they choose their side, and then accordingly like false information or accusations start to spread from there.
Yeah, definitely. Like when, especially with sexual assault allegations and such sensitive topics like these, I just can't imagine what kind of state you must be in to have the right and the gut, not the gut, the right to have the nerve to make a post or TikTok that makes fun of the whole situation. I cannot imagine what you have to do. What kind of person you have to be to post something like that. Even with James Charles, look at James Charles. He's been canceled so many times, and it's at this point like he's been canceled. I feel like there's like a line when he I don't know, what did he get canceled for?
I'm not really sure.
I think he got canceled so many times, but the first time I think it was because he like was calling himself famous to this Tati girl. I forgot. You know, I used to watch all those videos because I was bored and I had no life.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, some girl with Tati, and like I don't know, he used to call himself famous, and but something like that. I don't even know. I think it was just she was jealous of him and she tried to sabotage him and blah blah blah. And the second time, I don't even remember. Maybe he was. I think once didn't he get canceled once because he like went to a party? I don't know. I'm dumb. Don't take my word for it. But I know this time it was because of, you know, and he admitted to it too.
Yeah, he was texting underage. He was texting minors, like some inappropriate things, and he was. There were a lot of allegations against him, like multiple times, I think, right? Like for him, for example, which is really weird. I'm not sure why he's been able to bounce back from these.
Yeah, he's really resilient.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I feel like cancel culture is messed up. No, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be bounced back. I feel like whatever he does, like whatever crap he does, he's able to still get his views back, whatever. Right now, I think he's like on a break or whatever thing. And I'm literally promising you in like whatever 3 months, he's going to be back and everyone's going to forget about this whole thing. Because that's the difference between cancel culture and call-out culture. In call-out culture, if he, whatever, he got like, he said he did whatever thing he did, if people actually called him out, he would release an apology video actually apologizing for something, not apologizing for being caught, or he would not be apologizing to stop the hate. He would be apologizing to actually stop whatever thing he did. And he wouldn't necessarily, I'm not saying he would probably bounce back. He would bounce back in a positive way. Like, be a better person. Not bounce back because he got over the rock in his life.
Yeah, see, for me, for the first time he got canceled, like, well, okay, my biggest flaw is I was always on his side. I always believed him the first time, like, when he was getting canceled the first time by Tati. Like, I always believed him. I stayed followed. I even followed him from 3 other accounts, including my school account, because I felt so bad that he was losing followers. And that's my biggest flaw, I supported him during that first time. But, the thing is, like, I feel like people are, like, also very biased, you know? Like,
so biased.
Yeah, see, for me, I just loved him because, like, I just love to watch his makeup videos. I don't know, I've always liked watching makeup videos and stuff. So for me, I just didn't believe the other girl. Like, I just refused to believe her. And I guess and see, again, I was younger then. But, like, see, like, it's like things like that. If you really like them, some people just, like, even though they're making that mistake, they still want to continue watching them or still want to continue supporting them because they love them so much, you know?
Yeah, and Ishani brought up a point about, like, apologizing, like releasing apology videos, and I just wanted to say that there's a difference between apologizing and giving excuses. Like, outside of, like, the entire cancel culture topic, even going to, like, friend groups, I know, like, some people know that what they do is wrong in a situation, but they don't really come with an apology. They don't say, oh, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done this. They're rather like, I'm so sorry, but whenever the word but comes into, like, the situation, you know that they're just giving an excuse for
or, like,
the
trying
actions.
to defend themselves.
Yeah. I feel like that's just not an apology, and I'm like, okay, that wasn't an apology because you're just giving an excuse for your actions, and even though you're saying sorry, you're just trying to justify it in what seems like a nicer way.
So, like, Bryce Hall, so basically for people who don't know, Bryce Hall just had a fight with Austin McBoone, and whatever, and Austin's married, and there were, like, cheating allegations against Austin, and Tana just released them, being like, oh yeah, Austin cheated. And I'm just so interested, like, many people have done this where when they're mad at the person, so say that they're 2 famous friends, right? And one of them's, like, getting in, like, a bad situation. To make the situation worse, the other person will release something just because they're mad at them, and which confuses me a little bit. Like, so you had this information all along and you're choosing to release it now. Like, what is the whole situation about? Like, so you don't actually care about them. It's not about caring about them. Like, you don't actually care about the wrong thing that they did. You just care about the fact that this is just going to make their life worse. Because Tana just released this, it's like saying a lot of things like, oh yeah, Austin cheated and everything, and she said that this happened a long time ago.
Yeah,
it kind of confuses me.
I completely agree. And kind of to end the podcast episode, what are kind of some of, like, your advices and some of your steps, like, that you would recommend if you, like, start to see, like, the beginning of a situation like this kind of arising? What steps should you take in order to, like, be a better person and prevent yourself from doing anything?
That's worded weird the way you worded it, but I think you meant, what would I do if I were seeing myself get canceled? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, like, if you see, like, another situation occurring, right? Like,
someone about to get canceled?
Yeah, basically. Like,
what would I do in order to
tips,
understand it?
like, basically tips that you would like give to other people in terms of just doing the right thing?
Wait.
You are so bad at wording questions. Do you mean I think you mean
No, I think I know what Kavi means. Like, if there's a situation going around and someone's like did something wrong, like what tips we would give them to educate themselves a little bit more?
Yeah, that's basically what I meant.
That's easy. Okay, so I feel like I'd say, honestly, take time away to kind of get, if they're getting canceled, I'm sure their comment sections are filled, but just like get off that stuff and educate yourself, meaning like understand what you did wrong, honestly, and understand it, and apologize for doing that thing. Do it not, and actually, a lot of influencers, after they apologize, they'll be like, okay, now I'm gonna take time away, and during my time away, I will educate myself, I will read books, I will do this, I will do that, and then before you know it, they're releasing their normal videos, they're doing everything else, they're not even like charity, nothing's going on. They just bounce back and they're back to normal. Their life is back to normal, and they're not keeping their word and everything. So I would say stick to your, if you're releasing an apology statement, just stick to your word, honestly, and just take time away and actually educate yourself, meaning that understand what you did wrong in whatever way that might be helpful to you.
Yeah. So something that I would say is probably like, I can't tell people to not like watch whatever is happening, or like kind of looking at what's happening on social media. I think that you should just formulate your own opinion and stick to it yourself. Obviously, I mean, I don't think you should comment anything or like kind of be a part of the backlash, but that's what I would say. Melvina, do you have anything?
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, yeah. Stay true to your word. Take a break from social media. There's a lot of people who are gonna hate.
Yeah, there will be, and so just take time away and just keep to yourself sometimes. And honestly, if you don't even want to be in the situation in the first place, just be a good human and don't do stuff like that.
Okay, sometimes it's very sometimes it's extremely unintentional, but like if you offended
in what situation
someone,
you think it would be unintentional? Exactly. Like,
no.
there's no.
I
Like,
think it can be like, say there's this one shirt on TikTok. I got a shirt on TikTok and I had no idea it was part of like Latin culture.
Exactly.
Right, and it was just being sold, and it was being sold at Forever 21. So I had like literally no idea it was offending Latin culture. And of course, I don't wear that shirt anymore because I know it offends them. But how was I supposed to know that?
Yeah,
it was just designed as a regular shirt. That's what I mean. It's very unintentional. Like, I would never, if I had known I was offending anyone, then I would have never worn it to begin with. So.
No, that's the good dude. You didn't do anything wrong then. You stopped wearing that shirt. Is what matters.
That's what I mean. It's like unintentional. It's not on purpose. Like,
no, that's what I'm saying. Be a good person.
To...
Don't be in the situation in the first place. Meaning that, when I mean that, I'm not talking about the thing itself. I'm talking about what you do afterwards. Meaning that you take accountability for your actions first of all, and you stop doing that thing, and you actually do something to not do that again. Be a better person at the end.
So I guess that kind of concludes our episode. Cancel culture, it's kind of like what you think. It's
a messy topic, but
yeah, it's a messy topic, and obviously we've gotten into some heated kind of segments, but just take all of this into account. Obviously we can't tell you what to do, or we can't make choices for you, but just take all this into consideration and what you would do in any future circumstances.
Thank you for listening to this podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.
Be sure to tune in for the next one. Bye.